What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel, the best place for hyper-local coverage focused on Sarasota, Manatee County, and beyond. Today I'm going to focus on 1031 real estate exchanges in Florida, primarily 6 main things to consider. Real quick caveat, I'm not a CPA. I have spent a lot of my previous life in corporate finance, but it's always a good idea to consult a professional when doing one of these. Okay, before we jump in, let's go over what a 1031 exchange is. So a 1031 exchange can allow you to defer taxes when you sell an investment and profit from the sale, given that you reinvest the sale of the proceeds into another like-kind investment, such as real estate. A 1031 exchange usually involves the sale of vacation, rental, or investment properties, but it can also involve the sale of personal property like yachts, planes, artwork, etc. Now that you have a brief overview of what a 1031 exchange is and when it might apply, let's discuss 6 important things to know about the 1031 exchanges in Florida. All right, number 1, how Florida real estate investors can benefit from a 1031 exchange. Let's use an example to show exactly how this works. Imagine for a minute that you made $200,000 profit from selling a rental property, but you have $70,000 in capital gains taxes from that sale. That would only leave you about $130,000 to put into another property. Now, if you needed to put 25% down in your new investment property and the mortgage to value ratio is 75%, you'd only have the ability to purchase a property at $520,000 or less. This is where the 1031 exchange comes into play. With the 1031 exchange, you'd be able to defer the $70,000 tax, which gives you the full $200,000 to invest into another property. With the same down payment and mortgage to value ratio, you'd be able to purchase a property worth up to $800,000. In this case, the 1031 exchange makes almost a $300,000 difference. Okay, let's move on to number 2. A 1031 exchange must involve like-kind properties. In order to qualify for a 1031 exchange, the property being sold and purchased must be of like kind. What exactly does that mean? In real estate, like-kind properties do not have to be the exact same. They just have to be 2 types of real estate. For example, you could sell a residential rental property and purchase an office building, or you could sell land and purchase a residential rental property. However, one exception that's crucial to be aware of is that you cannot sell an investment property and replace it with a property for personal use. Additionally, you cannot sell a property in the US and defer taxes by replacing it with a foreign property. All right, number 3, let's talk about vacation homes and 1031 exchanges. Generally, the IRS doesn't question whether a residential or vacation property is for business or investment purposes, as long as the specific requirements are met. These 3 requirements include, number 1, you need to have owned the relinquished property for at least 24 months prior to the exchange, and the replacement properties must have been also held for at least 24 months prior to the exchange. Number 2, for every 12 months of the 24-month qualifying ownership period, you must have rented the property at fair market value for at least 14 days. You can rent the property to members of your own family as long as they use it as their primary residence and pay you a fair market rent for the property. And the 3rd requirement is that you can't occupy the property for personal use for more than 14 days or 10% of the number of days the property was rented, whichever is greater. Personal use means use by yourself, a family member, or anyone who has an interest in the property. Used by someone else who uses the property under the agreement that also gives you the use of the property, or used by anyone who rents for less than fair market value. The fair market value is determined by the circumstances that existed when the rental agreement was signed. A vacation property that does not meet these requirements could still qualify for a 1031 exchange, but all other legal requirements must be met. All right, number 4 on the list is you must reinvest 100% of your sale proceeds. In order to use a 1031 exchange to defer capital gains tax, you must reinvest 100% of the sales proceeds. This is pretty straightforward, but the key thing to note is that the cost of your replacement property has to be equal or greater value than the net sale price of the property sold. If you're not able to reinvest a property with equal or greater cost, you might be able to use some of the sale proceeds to pay for small improvements to the replacement property. Also, an important note, 1031 exchanges are not tax-free, rather they are tax-deferred. This means that if you decide to sell your replacement property later down the road, you will have to pay the taxes that were deferred, unless you choose to roll over the proceeds to another 1031 exchange. All right, and second to last, number 5, you must use a qualified intermediary. Number 5 is all about using a qualified intermediary to successfully defer taxes with the 1031 exchange. You must use a qualified intermediary to handle the transfer of your funds, otherwise you could have the 1031 exchange disallowed. This is a requirement from the IRS and is a really important part of the 1031 exchange process. The qualified intermediary, also known as the 1031 agent, exchanger, or facilitator, drafts the documents necessary for the exchange as well as holds your 1031 sales between the sale of the relinquished property and the purchase of the replacement property. The agent also ensures that all the paperwork is properly completed and all deadlines are met in a timely fashion. All right, and our sixth and final point, possibly the most important, the 1031 exchange deadlines. When you are selling a relinquished property, you have exactly 180 days from the closing date of the sale to close on your new replacement property. However, you only have 45 days to identify and formally submit the potential replacement properties you want to purchase to the qualified intermediary. There are no extensions or exceptions provided for either of these deadlines. If you miss either of the 45-day identification deadline or the 180-day closing deadline, the 1031 exchange will be disallowed. Alright guys, that's it, and I hope you enjoyed this video on 1031 exchanges in Florida. Now as you wait for some of our upcoming videos like the most affordable places to live in Florida, be sure to check out some of the other channel content featuring many area reviews, walking tours, and local footage. As always, I really appreciate you all. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.